propagate. And this is the dichotomy. This is the link is broken. Because they don't want to behave properly in their personal life, but yet they want everyone to follow good behavior. Shri Shri Radha Madan Mohan Lalita Vishakha Devi ki jai, Shri Shri Gaur Nitai ki jai, Shri Shri Krishna Balaram ki jai. And they say, don't look at what I do, but look at what I tell you. But how can what are they telling them will be solid without what they do? So, therefore, achar, vichar and prachar are very important. And especially in those in devotional life, one has to be also very careful that one's behavior has to be very, very good, because many individuals get attracted, to Iskcon, through prasad, through philosophy, through Prabhupada, to various senior devotees in Iskcon, but also behavior. Behavior is very important. Sometimes we find one's acharan and vichar are not as strong as one's prachar. And if that is the case, or sometimes we find the acharan and vichar is good, but the prachar is not good. But there has to be balance between these aspects. Unless there's a balance between them, our foundation for preaching, our foundation for progress, whether it's spiritual progress or any type of progress, will not be solid as one may want to. So behavior, there are studies, behavioral studies. You can go to university, you can go to college and do a degree in behavior studies. So there's a whole topic of behavior, very deep and long topic. And this comes under the Vaishnava etiquette aspect, very featured greatly. And Guru Maharaj has given courses on this particular aspect. But sometimes it's also, one has to be careful not to misjudge or prejudge other individuals as well. So just a caveat, just a warning there. We don't have time to go into that right now. Prabhupada also talks about, in the purport, the word sadhava is derived from the word sadhu. And what is the definition of sadhu? Prabhupada says, one who is always engaged in devotional service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And the symptoms of a sadhu, in Bhagavatam, 3rd canto, is described, I think Kapil Muni, in the chapter Glories of Devotional Service, 3rd canto, 25th chapter, I believe. He describes to his mother the symptoms of a sadhu. Titikshva karunika suhrda sarvadhainam ajat shatrava shanta sadhava. So sadhava, the word again, sadhava. Sadhu bhushana. So I just wanted to read some of the purport of this particular verse. Prabhupada's wonderful purport to this. The symptoms of sadhu are that he is tolerant, merciful, tolerant titikshva, merciful karunika, and friendly to all other living entities, suhrid sarvadehinam. He has no enemies, ajat shatravaha, and he is peaceful, shantaha. And he abides by its scriptures, sadhava. So here, sadhava Prabhupada translates as abiding by scriptures. If one abides by scriptures, then one is pious and is well behaved. So similar meaning. He abides by scriptures and all his characteristics are sublime. The purport, some of the aspects of these, Prabhupada points out. I just wanted to highlight because they all deal with behavior, sadhava, and Prabhupada points that out is very important at this present moment. Okay, just he is most compassionate personality, this is the devotee, towards all fallen souls. One of his qualifications therefore is karunika, great mercy to the fallen souls. Then he says, sadhu has the thankless task of impressing upon others the importance of devotional service. Then Prabhupada gives the example of Haridas Thakur, etc. Then he says, one of the qualifications of sadhu is that he is very tolerant and merciful. So tolerant and merciful to all fallen souls. He is merciful because he is a well-wisher of all living entities. He is not only a well-wisher of the human society, but a well-wisher of animal society. Sarvadehinam. And there are many examples, Prabhupada says. Yet a sadhu, although he is engaged in highest philanthropic activities for the benediction for all living entities, yet although a sadhu is not inimical towards anyone, the world is so ungrateful that even sadhu has many enemies. So, some of the aspects of a sadhu, and earlier on in this text 5 of this particular chapter, Prabhupada again points it out. When Maharaj, the text goes, Maharaj Antradhan had another wife named Nabhaswati, and by her he was happy to beget another son named Harivardhan. Since Maharaj Antradhan was very liberal, he did not kill Indra while the demigod was stealing his father's horse at the sacrifice. Very important. We discussed that a couple of weeks ago. So Prabhupada clarifies that in the purport, gives more emphasis in the purport to highlight good behavior. Although Antardhan could understand that King Indra was stealing the horse from his father, he did not kill King Indra, for he knew that if one who is very powerful sometimes commits an abominable act, it should be disregarded. And Prabhupada quotes Bhagavad Gita 9:30, Apichet suduracharo bhajate mam ananya bhak sadhureva samantavya samayag vavasito hi saha. And then this Prabhupada says, thus the Lord says, even if a devotee commits an abominable act, he should be considered a sadhu or a pious man because of his unflinching devotion to the Lord. The devotees of the Lord never willingly commit any sinful act, but sometimes they commit something abominable due to their previous habits. Such acts should not be taken very seriously. However, because the devotees of the Lord are very powerful, whether they are on the heavenly planets or on this planet, if by chance they commit something abominable, it should not be taken into account, but should be overlooked. Because Shipram Bhavati Dharmatma, Shashva Shantim Nigachyati, Lord Krishna points it out, quickly becomes pious. Why? Because he has this determination, Vivasito Hisa, Samyag, complete determination to be on the path of devotional service. And good behavior means, and piety means to understand that. Piety means to understand that. Not just in ourselves, but in others. What level they are, what they're trying to do, and act accordingly. So, everyone deserves a second chance. Some deserve third chance. But everyone deserves something. Because they come on the path of devotional service, especially in those in devotional life, they have to be dealt differently. Even in outside world, even in normal world, people are given warnings. They're talked about, they're given warnings. That's the procedure. If somebody goes to work, they're given warnings, and then ultimately, final action is taken. So it's very important that we behave properly. We behave in a pious, in a piety, and piety should be the basis. Everything one must do. We should try at least. Even if we're not up to the standard, we should try. We should try to do the right thing, even though our nature, especially I know my nature, is against that. We don't want to do the right thing. What is right, what is wrong? Who to decide? This is where the spiritual master comes in, or consultation with other devotees come in. But the aim is to behave properly. The aim is to become a sadhava who is well behaved or is pious. Piety means everything is done on the basis of the scriptures. And what does Krishna says? Apichet suduracharo, bhajate mam ananya bhav. So one has to, even though we don't want to, but we should try, force ourselves to try to do the right thing. The father, the king, and the spiritual master are supposed to be representatives, and Prabhupada then qualifies. Because in this day and age we find, obviously age of Kali, as the Prachetas took the order and instructions of the father to the heart and soul and carried them on the head, Shrisha. But we don't find that today. How many children are up to the level of the Prachetas? And how many parents are up to the level of King Parchin Bhari or other? So that's why it's important. This day and age, although it's not so much happening today in India, but in the West, as soon as the children, the kids reach late teens, 16, 17 or 18, and after that, their contact with the parents become less and less. I'm talking about generally, there are many exceptions, but generally, the contact, the respect, the taking guidance and instructions from the parents becomes less and less and less. And they only meet once a year on Christmas Day, or some other or some other function they meet. And when the parents get old, the parents go into old people's homes or old age's home, and many of them, they don't even come and visit their parents. And the loneliness of the parents is unbelievable. One of the major diseases, one of the major illnesses in the West is loneliness. Loneliness. Because even if they don't go to old people's houses, even they stay at their own home. I know where I live. Radhavanath Prabhu can testify, wherever they're in England, wherever you live, your neighbors, I have two neighbors next door, one is 90, one is 85, and one next door is by 80, 85. He's alone. 365 days of the year, he stays alone. No one comes and sees him. No one. My neighbor, John, as a good Samaritan, he goes and sees him, knocks on his door sometimes. And the governments have to run programs to go, and they pay people. They employ people to go and knock on the people's homes and ask them how they are. And the governments have these programs to look after. That's why old age people's homes are there. But that respect of the children towards the parents isn't there. That behavior, good behavior isn't there. In India, that is slowly happening also. Slowly. Old age people's homes are increasing in the cities. But still, because of the cultural influences of India and the great culture still prevalent in India, this is not so speedily happening. But it will happen in the future. Because the training isn't there. Spiritual training isn't there. That piety is becoming lost. That sadhava, the well-behavior is becoming lost. Because the spiritual training isn't there, the people in general are forgetting. Do you know 70% of India are meat eaters? 70%. Minimum. This was the statistics 20 years ago. Now I'm sure 80, 85%. They are not vegetarians. And many of them, although they say they believe that they are God, they believe in God, but most don't believe in God as such. They don't go to the temples, only on major festivals. I'm talking generally. And but they don't actually follow. They don't have training. They don't follow the rules and regulations. They just heard of the terminology, dharma, artha, kam, and moksha. They forget about dharma. They only concentrate about earth and calm. They even don't care about moksha because the training isn't there. And therefore, the well behavior isn't there. their acharana isn't there. If the acharana isn't there, the vichar isn't there. And so therefore, what they teach, what they practice, prachar isn't there either. Prabhupada says, ideally, it is a duty. Not ideally, it's supposed to be. In this day and age, it seems like ideal, but it's supposed to be. The father, the king, and the spiritual master, the representatives of Supreme Personality, and their duty is to make sure their subjects, their disciples, that they are regulated in such a way that they become ultimately the devotees of the Supreme Personality, Godhead. The duty of the king, the duty of the spiritual master, duty of the father, duty of the king is for the subjects, spiritual master for the students, and the father for the kids is to make children, to make sure ultimately they become God conscious. Ultimately they become the devotees of the Lord, so they can go back home. That is the duty of the superiors. But how many are doing that this day and age? Why? Because the training is missing. And what is the duty of the subordinates? The duty of the subordinates is to follow and obey the orders perfectly in a disciplined way. And how many are doing that? Very few. Because again, this all comes under they're not behaving well. The behavior is not good. Why the behavior isn't good? The piety isn't good there. Why isn't the piety is there? Because the training, spiritual training isn't there. And Lord Krishna in Bhagavad Gita chapter 17, text 14, I believe, he points out one of the austerities of the body in mode of goodness is to follow the orders of the superiors, orders of the Supreme Personality, order of the spiritual master, and order of the superiors, worship like the mother and father, follow their orders. And Prabhupada, when Brahmananda Maharaj was initiated in 1966, his mother came to see the initiation. After giving the name, Prabhupada, before paying obeisance to Prabhupada or to the deities, Prabhupada told him, go and pay obeisance to your mother. Don't pay your obeisance to your mother first. Take her blessing, then take blessings of me or the deities. So respect for the parents. Athithi Deva Bhava. Matra Deva Bhava. Pitra Deva Bhava. This is the injunctions of the Vedas. Irrespective of if the parents are qualified or not, a devotee should respect the superiors. Because we read time and time again, Prabhupada in purpose emphasizing, a devotee is ready to pay respects even to an ant. If a devotee is ready to pay respect even to end, so why shouldn't a devotee pay respect to the parents or other superiors and or follow their orders? Why would Prabhupada ask Brahmananda Prabhu at that time get blessings of his mother at that time? Was it just for a show? Just to show Brahmananda Prabhu's mother, oh, we are very good people? No. Because that's the culture. That's in the heart. That is what piety and good behavior is all about. The word Shirsha on the heads is also significant. For the Prachetas accepted the orders of the fathers. For the Prachetas accepted the order of the father and carried them on their head. Which means they accepted them in complete surrender. So that is a behavior. That is a behavior of children, as Lord Ram showed in his behavior by accepting totally what Dashrath Maharaj told him. Go away for 14 years. Jai Shri Radha Madan Mohan Lalita Vishaka Devi ki jai. Shri Gaunitai ki jai. Shri Krishna Balaram ki jai. Go away, banished for 14 years. Even though later he was asked to come back. No, he said, the order of my father is supreme. And he carried that out. And the order of his mother, who wanted him to be banished, Kekai, is supreme, he said. And we also read, what is the devotee's name? In Vittal Dev, who was a devotee who worshipped him? Tukaram. Was it Tukaram? Was it Tukaram? No, another one. Tukaram. Okay. When he was, we know Shravan Kumar, but Tukaram, yeah. But now there was another devotee. He was worshipping Vittal, Lord Vittal, and Lord Vittal came to see him. But he asked Lord Vittal to wait because I'm serving my parents. What was his name? I forgot his name. And then what he did, while he was serving his parents, he threw a brick, because he didn't have anything near him, for the Lord to stand as to respect the Lord and worship him. And the Lord Vishnu stood on the brick. The word wheat means brick. Vittal, the one who's standing on the brick. That's Vittal Dev. So the Lord waited for his devotee to serve his parents. After serving his parents, he worshipped the Supreme Lord Vittal. That's why he became known as Vittal Dev. So there's so many stories like that. Take inspiration from. And that's why that's what the Prachetas did. Took the instruction of the father very seriously and prepared themselves. They were very fortunate. While preparing, they heard Rudra Gita, and Lord Shiva became visible to them. And Prabhupada points out this is good behavior. This is known as sadhava, and which is very much needed in this day and age. And we should try, I know I'm saying this to myself a lot, we should try to take inspiration and behave in a similar manner. I think I'll stop here. If there's any corrections, comments or questions.
Hare Krishna. Prabhupada mentioned that is the duty of superiors and it is the duty of subordinates to obey their orders perfectly and the disciplined way. In this occasion, Prabhupada says superiors and above says sadhvas. So I want to know what are the qualities of superiors.
Okay. You know, the verse is there. What is it? Devarashi Bhutatpa. What is that verse? Right. So that verse is there from 11th canto, right? Which talks about one can disregard them, regard the superiors, the parents, the devatas, etc., etc., etc. To balance that, see, there's two things: the qualities of the superiors. There are two types of qualities, two main different types of qualities. One, if they're acting on a spiritual platform. Other is if they're not acting on a spiritual platform. If they're acting on a spiritual platform, and that's why Prabhupada, you find in the purports or in letters, he asks one Mataji to reject her husband. Or he gives instructions to leave your parents. Or like that. So instructions are there. Why is that? Is that contradictory? No. It depends on what level one is looking at. If one is looking at the material level, the qualities of the superiors are different. Their aim is different. Their instructions are different. If one is looking at a spiritual level, the qualities are seemingly are different. Their guidance, their instructions are different. So on a material level, the qualities of the superiors are, they're very learned, they're knowledgeable, they're wise, they're well behaved, they're affectionate, they help their juniors, whatever it may be, and they behave properly. And they give guidance, oh, you should become a good doctor, good engineer, you must have a good career, you must have a good wife, good family, you must earn enough, you must save enough to look after your children, you must have a bank balance. These are, and they encourage you, oh, go and visit your relatives, have a good relationship with your friends. These are material things. Go and vote. Stop everything and vote. That was amazing. I never seen that poster, that logo in the West. You never have that in the West. All over India it says, "Sab kaam chhod do, vote karo." Sab kaam chhod do, my God. Shocking. Sab kaam chhod do. So, when I read it first, it was shocking to me. So these are the material qualities of subordinates. And superiors, the politicians will say, go and vote. The teachers will say, you have to become a good student, get good grades so you can get a good career, earn money, support your family. So these instructions are like this on the superiors. But from spiritual level, what is the qualification Prabhupada points out? It is the duty of the father, spiritual master and the king to regulate their subordinates in such a way that they ultimately become fully unalloyed devotees of the Supreme Lord. So that is their instruction, become a devotee of the Supreme Lord. So this verse from the 11th canto applies, Devarshi Bhutatma, that verse applies to those individuals on that level, essentially first. Otherwise, you can't ignore your parents, you can't ignore your demigods. You'll be committing offense. But if one is on that level, yes, that is a different story. So one has to see what level one is at, what instruction one is been given, and what instructions am I understanding. That's why it's always important to consult and have, if one doesn't understand, consult. And Chanakya Pandit points out, between 3 and 5 advisors one can have. Minimum 3, maximum 5. If one doesn't understand points. So that's, the difference is there. Niti Shastra, Dharma Shastra. That's why Arjuna in the beginning was giving arguments in Bhagavad Gita from Niti Shastra, ethics. Krishna rejected that. Ethics are for material level. Krishna even transcended the Dharma Shastras. And his ultimate Shastra was what he said. Anyway, it's a long thing.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. So Shyamgovind Prabhu is asking, say the relatives are not favorable towards us spiritually, so what should be our attitude towards them?
Well, there are many instances. There will continue to be many instances where one's parents, forget relatives, but even one's parents, brothers, sisters, may not be very favorable towards one's chosen path of take-up devotional service. That is natural. That is accepted in one sense. One should not be surprised. One should be surprised if the parents, friends, and other relatives do become favorable. One should be surprised. And if they are not favorable, one should try one's best to make them understand that what you're doing is the right thing, and one should try one's best to also encourage them in this path. But there's a limit. And after the limit, one should not put so much time, energy and effort. Then one should just concentrate on one's development and progress in spiritual life. Otherwise, one will just try and waste. And after that, trying, talking, lecturing, philosophizing, best thing to do, just keep giving them prasad, Mahaprasad. And they will that way, what our 1 hour lecture may not have that effect. What our personal behavior may not have effect, because they know you from long. There's a saying, you can't preach to your parents or to your kins. You can't preach because they know you since you were a child, and they can't accept you in different role. They will still see you, even though if you become, such and such and das, or even such and such Swami. When your mother or brother will come, they will still call you Tinku, Minku, like this, right? Because they know you from that. So there is a level. There is, after philosophizing, giving so much lectures, best thing to do is just keep giving them Mahaprasad. That will be the purifying factor. But never close the opportunity to preach to them. Never close that gate of opportunity. Whenever there's reciprocation, you should be there, the first one to talk about Krishna and philosophy and etc.
There's another one, Prabhu. So Vamsi Gopal Prabhu is asking if there is friction between the orders of the father, the spiritual master and the king. Is there a priority that we should follow, or whom should we follow?
Well, it depends what kind of orders there are. If the order of the king, spiritual master, and the father are same, i.e. to advance in spiritual life, because that is what they are, then there cannot be any difference. There should not be any contradiction. There may be difference in details. But if the orders are totally different, then probably my understanding is that the order of the spiritual master comes first. Unless somebody says anything else. So two questions. What is the difference between behavior and character? And the other is, what if one's devotional standard sadhana is good but the behavior is not? Right. So first of all, the difference between characteristics, one's character and behavior, they're very much interlinked. You can say because of one's behavior, the character is there, or you can turn it the other way around, because of one's character, behavior is there. They're very much interlinked. Characteristics mean behavioral pattern. Behavior means one's character. It's one and same. Because one's character is good, that means his behavior is good. If one's character is bad, that means his behavior is bad. Just like they say sometimes the face is the window to the soul. Unless you tie it, that's a different story. But characteristics and behaviors is synonymous in one way. Not so much difference. Because they're interdependent. Sometimes it is seen, as Prabhupada points it out, or as Lord Krishna points it out, in 9:30:31, Apichet Sudharacharo. Even though the character, because everyone's innate character is good. Everyone is good, ultimately. Because everyone is part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. Everyone is pious, everyone is good, everyone is spiritual. But because of conditioning, or according to us, in Prabhupada says, because of past activity, sometimes a person may behave out of character. That's where the difference of character and behavior comes. Because sometimes we say, this person is not like that. Why is he behaving this way? So that way, behavior pattern can change according to the character one is used to, or one's natural character. There's a blip, or there's an anomaly, they say, in the process. That is what, then there's a difference. And that is, that behavior, if one is practicing devotional service, should be tolerated and overlooked, given a chance. Not every time. Krishna doesn't say each time he behaves like that, you should overlook. And Prabhupada points that out. He talks about the Christians, when they go and confess. Once a week they go to church, the Catholics, they go to the priest and confess all the sins. That means whatever they've done wrong is right. And Prabhupada points it out, that is wrong. You may do it once, but you can't keep doing it again and again and again. Similarly, if one's behavior is out of character, once or twice, maximum 2-3 times can be forgiven. But at least once, somebody should be given a chance. But not each time. At that time, and that is due to past activities, sinful activities, or some other aspects, Prabhupada points it out. Then there's a difference between behavior and character. And sometimes some people are very good. That's why they're known as politicians. They're very good. Their character is different, but their behavior is different. So that's why we have to be careful of. The politicians of today. And actually, good point. I was going to mention that. Behavior of the politicians. The unqualified people, especially in India, unqualified individuals in the government sector. Why? Because of reservation, law of reservation. Irrespective of whether one is qualified or not, the government law, I don't know how much percentage there is, certain percentage, the jobs in the government must go to a certain class of people, whether they're qualified or not. And that's why the government is such a mess. Because they're not behaving properly, because no training is there. And then some individuals, I said earlier, they're very good. They're very good diplomacy, they're very good diplomats and politicians. What's inside doesn't come outside. And they behave differently. And then, see what happens in that case, after a while people get to know. After a while, you may fool somebody for a certain time. Initially, you may fool some, once, twice, third time, but you can't fool all the people all the time. And then the loss is theirs. After a while, certain individuals may not take them seriously or keep distance from them. That will happen naturally. But then there are others who, what's inside is also outside. What the character and the behavior is similar. And Chanakya Pandit says that. Safut vakta na vanchaka. I think he says that. He talks about, he said, an adhikari, a government officer by nature is greedy. 2,500 years ago he pointed out that every officer is greedy person. And then he talks about 2 other things, and lastly he says, Safut vakta na vanchaka. That means a person who's straightforward talker, he has nothing to hide in he has no malice. What's in his mind comes out. There's a saying in English, what they say? Spashtata, straight talker. Somebody's straight talker. So everyone has a different characteristics and behavior, different types. But one should know what is good behavior, what is good characteristics. The characteristics of the sadhu is described, and the behavior of sadhu is described. So one must know. And if one finds, your point was, if one finds that somebody is very good, maybe good devotee, but his behavior is not good. So there are ways of rectifying that. There are ways of rectifying that. But if that doesn't work either, then one should just take association from a distance. Well, if somebody says that, especially if you're wearing devotional clothes, see, it depends who's saying that, who's doing it. Prabhupada said, to cheat somebody is a sin, but to get cheated is also a sin. Right? So if we tolerate bad behavior, then we also partaking in that bad behavior as well. But if we are qualified, if we have the adhikar, then, like Prabhupada, for example, what did he used to do? He used to call all the scientists, all these politicians, everyone, rascals. Rascal is not a pleasant term. Rascal is it's just like putting somebody down. Hey, you rascal. Hey, you idiot. Like that. Hey, you unqualified person. That's what it means. But Prabhupada could do that. And people will not get offended. But if I do that, they'll get offended. You see? So in that case, what I have to do, I just tolerate. And just let things happen. Or you can tell them in a nice way. One should tell them that what they're doing is wrong, but in a not instructing way, not demeaning way, not not kind of not instructing way, but in a nice way. Like, what is my seat? But even if still he says get out, then you just tolerate and do it. Unless because we are in devotional clothes, our behavior. See, reputations are based on behavior. Reputations are built and destroyed on behavior. So if our behavior is not so good, then even though we may be right, even though they may be wrong. So if our behavior is good, then the reputations gets built up. But at the same time, there has to be balance that we should not tolerate nonsense either. And if we are in a position to tell them back, what you're doing is wrong, in a saying, because there's a saying in English, offense is the greatest defense as well. So there has to be balance between all these things. But generally, we say that in a nice way, and if still they don't understand, then we kind of tolerate, and then you will see their behavior change. They will say, he's acting like a sadhu, titikshva, tolerating. Correction is there. Character is inside, behavior is outside. Behavior is based on character, yes. How does one know if one's character is good? Through behavior. Otherwise, Prabhupada said, a fool remains undetected until he speaks. Okay, I think we'll stop. Thank you very much. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Nitya Gaur Premanandi.